Good morning and welcome to another edition of Our Town here on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. My name is Darren Swinson. Our Town, as always, brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. A little later on in the program, we will have our monthly conversation with Decorah School Superintendent Tim Cronin. We'll also talk to Eli King from Caledonia. He's now a freshman with the Iowa State men's basketball program. Yesterday, they had their media day, and we'll have our conversation with Eli as a part of that program. Coming up next week is the groundbreaking for the new Sunflower Discovery and Childhood Development Center. We'll chat about that process and that event with Stephanie Fromm from Winneshiek County Development and Tourism. But we'll kick off the show this morning with an event coming up on Saturday. It's the Touch a Truck event held annually during Fire Prevention Week, and we'll talk about that and other things related to the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department with Blake Moen. We'll do that now as we begin Our Town. It's brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust, and you're listening to it on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. Having a chance to catch up with Blake Moen from the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. Always good to have a chat with Blake, and always good to talk about fun events, and you've got one coming up this Saturday, Blake.
Yeah, we do, Darren. No, thanks for having us on to kind of showcase a little bit and talk a little bit about our upcoming program. This week, this Saturday, is actually our annual Touch a Truck program. Touch a Truck has been going on for a number of years here. It's been one of our top Decorah Park and Rec programs and starts this Saturday, October 15th, and it runs from 10 a.m. to noon behind City Hall. And so the parking lot behind City Hall, where the fire station is and the police station, is where the event takes place. And for those that don't know what it is it's an awesome opportunity for kiddos and families and community members to come to our open house event to see some of the vehicles that are showcased for kiddos to climb in and out of, to take pictures with, and so on. Some of the vehicles that will be showcased in the parking lot behind City Hall are police and fire, emergency vehicles. We will have some construction equipment as well. We have city maintenance vehicles and some tractors and gators and so on. As I said, police cars. We get local businesses as well that will bring like tow trucks and dump trucks and whatnot as well, and whatnot. So the list goes on and on and on. Another event that we have did last year that we started to kind of kick off the event is a helicopter landing as well in front of City Hall. So that will also be taking place at the Touch a Truck event. Can't do this program without our partnership and in conjunction with the Decorah Fire Department. This week is Fire Prevention Week as well. So this week we work with them to put on Touch a Truck, and along with the events and the different things that folks can do, there will also be a free hot dog lunch where volunteers will be provided by the Decorah Rotary Club. So it's a fun event, open house event, come and go as you please. And we're really looking forward to it this Saturday.
And it's neat when all these entities and organizations and really everybody involved comes together just for a neat community event. It might only last 2 hours, but from what I understand in years past, quite a few people attend this event in that 2-hour time period.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. As I said, it is an open house event, so folks can come and go if they want to come right at 10, great. If you want to come at 11:30, that's great too. It's a really fun program, Darren, that like you hinted at, we usually have a great turnout for. It's a great community feel for folks to be able to get out of the house, and kiddos, I know, just absolutely love the day itself and just being able to see the different vehicles and so on and so forth. So like I said, it's a free lunch as well. So you got that going on. And then also it's kind of fun too, Darren, because this Saturday happens to also be our last day of flag football and youth volleyball. So I know a lot of parents and families and kiddos that are out and about anyways will maybe finishing up their game and making their way over or going to Touch a Truck and then their event. So it's a fun Saturday.
And I think it's one of those neat things, especially with kids. Obviously, a lot of these emergency vehicles, you never want to need them. But if you do need them, you get to know the people that are involved. You get to know the equipment that are involved. And I think that just develops this comfort and trust that maybe isn't there when you don't have events like this. Is that a fair thing to say?
Oh, absolutely, Darren. No, you hit spot on. And I would say that goes for our fire department, our police department, that goes into our city emergency vehicles, our construction equipment. Brunings brings a truck as well. Align Energy has participated. Army Reserve has participated before. And so, as you said, not only is it community members and kiddos and whatnot gaining that comfortability being around some of those large vehicles that they see that service parts of Decorah or in surrounding areas. It's also fun for them to interact with the staff member that is associated with that truck or that vehicle that is being showcased. So I know that we really are greatly appreciative of all the folks that do volunteer their time and participate in this event, because it's a great event for our kids and for area businesses and whatnot to also take place to showcase their vehicles, but also build that connection with community like you alluded to, Darren, and build that comfortability and also being able to see what it's all about and learn more about it.
And from a Parks and Rec perspective, you mentioned this Saturday, final day of flag football and youth volleyball. That means winter activities are on the way. What do you got up your sleeve for this winter?
Yeah, we're really looking forward to our winter offerings here that will be coming up. One note that we do want to tell folks is that our brochure for all of our winter offerings comes out on November 15th. So be looking on our website. You can head to our website or you can stop into our Park Rec office. But starting November 15th is when our December, January, and February events will be showcased. Some of those events include, we'll be looking at a lot of our youth basketball programs starting up here. So those will be getting going, and registration for those is currently running as well. Right around the corner too, once it gets to December, Christmas time or so, we look at getting the ice rink up and running as well. So the ice rink will be another big proponent that we'll be looking to get things rolling for. Usually that's again after the first of the year, but we'll be excited to get things started there. We've got some after school programs as well starting after the first of the year as well. We're also currently working with our Kingpin Entertainment, the new bowling center in town, entertainment center. We are working with them on offering a bowling program as well, and many others. So again, registration for some of our programs before Christmas are still out there, so feel free to go to our website and check those out. Otherwise, for future offerings that will run December and January, February, that program will come out on November 15th. So we're looking forward to the fun events coming up.
Anything else you want to add from the Decorah Parks and Recreation perspective this morning?
Yeah, just overall, we've been really pleased with our fall programming and how things have gone, and just want to send a big shout out to again all the volunteers that help us make all of our programs take place. Everyone from our Touch a Truck program and businesses that are going to be spending their Saturday there, to volunteer coaches for flag football and volleyball, to some of our other after school programs and so on. We can't do half the programs we want to do without the people involved, and so big thank you there. And be looking in our office or be checking us out on our website in order to see our future programs that we have coming up.
Well, and I noticed the long-term forecast says partly sunny and 57 for Saturday. So is it you, Erica, or Andy in charge of the ordering up the weather forecast for your events like this?
We leave that to Erica. She's really good at that. So I stay hands off on that, Darren. Erica leads the charge on that. So
I endorse that idea. Definitely the case. But Blake, thanks for taking the time this morning and telling us about Touch a Truck and the upcoming events for Decorah Parks and Recreation. Always good to catch up with you, and have yourself a great Saturday, and enjoy the remainder of the fall season, as well as the start of the winter recreation season. It'll be here before we know it.
Yeah. Thanks, Darren. No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having us on, and we're looking forward to it.
Blake Moen from the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. Touch a Truck behind City Hall this Saturday from 10 a.m. until noon. Having a conversation this morning with Stephanie Fromm from Winneshiek County Development and Tourism, and a big night coming up next Tuesday as the Sunflower Child Development and Discovery Center groundbreaking will take place. And Stephanie, a lot of exciting things going on related to that project. And you guys found out last Friday some more good news related to that project. Tell us about that.
Yeah, thanks, Darren. Yep, we're pretty excited. The ball just keeps rolling. Lots of progress. So next Tuesday, the 18th at 5:30, we're hoping that we can just kind of bring the entire community, kids, everyone, donors, non-donors, just supporters, out for the groundbreaking ceremony. We're going to take some really big group pictures. This is definitely a community project. We want to make sure all who would like to be represented or just show their support for the project, be there. It will be on the new site, so adjacent to where the hospital is, kind of on the Quick Star side of that. The address is 902 Commerce Drive. And yeah, we're pretty excited. You'll see some mobilization happening between now and then, and some trucks picking up trees and cleaning up the site a little bit so we can take some pictures there. And we're just really excited to get started.
And longtime Decorah residents will understand this. It's just kind of neat that Sunflower is kind of returning home, correct?
It was, yeah. It was a long shot that we could even go to that site. We spent the better part of a year just trying to find a piece of property. And when the hospital kind of expressed interest in donating the land, we jumped all over it. I mean, how can you pass up a beautiful piece of property that close to the highway and right next to the scenic byway of Montgomery Street? And just to have a really great community partner, a couple of them right there in the neighborhood, with Bruning's right across the street and Winneshiek Medical Center next door. I mean, I think Sunflower is really going to fit in well with the neighboring community and the businesses all around it too. So we're excited about that.
And I know the issue of expanding the inventory of child care spaces has been something that you've discussed really since you've been in this WCDT position. How rewarding is it for you and everybody on the WCDT board to take all the work that you've done and see this come to fruition?
I wish we could stop and celebrate a little more often than just keep rolling with it, But yeah, this project, because of, more recent grant that we had partnered with some private businesses to apply for. I think the last time I was on here, we were talking about that award. We're up to 245 childcare slots in this new center. I cannot say enough good things about the staff that have supported this project this entire time. And when I say staff, I'm talking about existing Sunflower staff and in-home providers. I mean, those are the people that are on the front line per se, and they're the ones that are taking care of our youngest people that all of us would do anything for, and to make sure that they have a safe, engaging, clean, environment for them to either come to just for the day in the Discovery Center, or to have their preschool kiddos be able to explore and play in an afternoon, or just to have basic childcare. It's an amazing development opportunity to be a part of. And I think just in terms of my career, this is definitely something I've been called to do. So.
And you, I think, touched on a very good distinction here, because you touched on the need for basic childcare was definitely there. You also touched on the need for children to have a rewarding experience while going through childcare, and this definitely fits both those categories, correct?
It does, yeah, and it kind of plays into the most recent news release that we just put out on Friday, and the award from the Rural Innovation Grant. The state is really excited about this Discovery Center piece, mixing in with the childcare. Obviously, any money that's made in the Discovery Center goes to support the staff and salary of the childcare workers, which is definitely this model that's been broken for so long, and everyone's trying to figure it out. But the Rural Innovation Grant was specifically tied to the ag learning space that will be in there. So we'll have a number of different exhibits within the Discovery Center, and this will just be one of those exhibits. So the state has recognized that agriculture obviously is a huge part of our economy, and there's not as much interest in going into those ag focused businesses such as farming or veterinary care or, just basic produce production. And this is a way to get kids excited about growing their own food or learning where their food comes from, and then, sending them out to see it. So maybe it's like they're milking a cow, and then we say, hey, do you want to see a real cow get milked in today's time? We'll go to the dairy center in Kelmer, where NSCC has the Iowa's Dairy Center. And, this Discovery Center will be an amazing opportunity to bring the community to life, in the eyes of a child. So to be able for them to pretend milk a cow or to pretend plant a garden, and then be able to go to the farmer's market and actually see, Pete's apple orchard, for example. Pete will be at the farmer's market selling apples, and they'll remember his face from when they saw him in the Discovery Center, for just an example.
And really a neat idea to bring it all together on that end of things. But let's focus on the event next Tuesday night, the ground-breaking ceremony itself. Give us the details on what will be taking place next Tuesday night, who's all invited, etc.
Yeah, we've invited all community members, any donors, or just avid, supporters. 5:30 on Tuesday, October 18th, at the new site, which is 902 Commerce Drive. It'll just be hey, thanks for coming. Let's take a real cool group picture. We'll get the drone out, take some group shots that way too. We got a couple of photographers lined up, and there will be some site happenings between now and then with some pruning trucks mobilizing. So,
and really, of course, after the groundbreaking ceremony, everyone will get their sleeves rolled up and get to work. How much work, obviously, entering October and November, not exactly a hotbed of construction season, but how much work do you want to get done, let's say, by the end of the calendar year?
Yeah, so they'll be working through the winter to get this sucker put up. So it'll be an 18-month build, and they'll be cleaning up the site, leveling things out between now and the end of November, I believe, and into December maybe. They'll have the structure itself, the frame, put up, and they're doing some unique things to get this building built this year. In terms of just working from the inside out. So we're doing a precast concrete building. So the outside shell will have to be created, right? Because it's concrete, and they'll have to create the molds. So there's a little bit of a wait time for this shell. So they're actually building it from the inside out. So they'll be roughing out all of the plumbing and electrical stuff inside that they can do. And then my understanding is that they'll, erect all of the steel structure and the beams after they pour the foundation, of course, and then they'll tent it. And so they'll be able to work during the winter time on the project. So we're hoping to, set up some time-lapse cameras and get this from start to finish is the hope.
And probably might be an unfair question for me to ask right now. What are you thinking in regards to completion date? What are you thinking in regards to open for business date at this point, at least?
Yep. So the timeline that they've told us is it'll be an 18-month start to finish, and will be owner occupied by June of 2024.
That's an ambitious timeline, but it's a good thing that this thing is moving definitely in the right direction. Anything we're missing this morning, Steph? Anything else you want to pass on to the community regarding this project specifically?
We are still campaigning. We're still trying to close the gap on our capital campaign. We have after this grant, we have about $850,000 yet left to raise. And funds will be acknowledged in the Discovery Center or the child care, whichever wing really the person is more passionate about. But we're really hopeful that we can close that gap so that the center can be really set up for success for the future.
All right, Steph, we appreciate you taking some time and telling us all about this project. Going to be a great day next Tuesday to get the shovels in the ground and officially get this project underway. congrats to you and everybody with Sunflower and with Winneshiek County Development and Tourism for getting it to this point. And it'll be neat to see the work come to fruition here over the next 18 months. And as always, thanks for taking the time with us.
Thanks, Darren.
Stephanie Fromm with Winneshiek County Development and Tourism. The groundbreaking for the new Sunflower Childhood and Development and Discovery Center will take place next Tuesday night at 5:30. Eli, here you're about ready to start your freshman year. I mean, obviously, you've been through the summer workouts, the preseason work. How has the transition to college basketball gone here in the early going?
Yeah, it's a big transition, obviously, and it's been going well. It helps have good teammates and coaching staff to help you with certain things. So it's been going well and it's as smooth as it can be, I would say.
I know Coach talked about when he came here last year, restoring pride in the program, restoring that good culture. Is that kind of the vibe that you've gotten from these guys to this point?
Yeah, definitely. I think the whole staff did a great job as well as the returning players and what they did last year. And I think they set the standard and, yeah, it's good.
Since you left your high school team last year and you start in college now, where are you? In what ways are you physically and mentally better at this point? In what ways do you still hope to grow?
I think physically I've gotten a little bigger, a little stronger. I think mentally just kind of realizing the differences between the high school level, and obviously it's a huge difference, but just understanding more what playing in the Big 12 is like and playing with a bunch of super good players.
And obviously with the situation, Jeremiah at the point guard position, a very unfortunate situation for him. You see a chance to get called on a little bit earlier than perhaps you planned on?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's unfortunate what went down and sucks and everything. And yeah, opportunity comes with that. And people are going to have to step up in that role.
And how hungry are you to be one of those guys that can fill in and do some good for this team?
Yeah, I think everyone's working to get better every single day and working to have whatever role that will be on this team. And I'm one of them, looking forward to just working every single day to get better and help the team in whatever way.
What do you think your ceiling is this year?
Right now, we're just trying to get better every single day and take it one day at a time and get ready for that first game, and then we'll take it one game at a time from then.
Of the guys that are coming back, is there any particular guy that maybe has mentored you a little bit as you make this transition?
I think not any specifically, but I'd say Gabe and Caleb more from the guard position, so those two probably the most, and then but all of them have been great that are returning. What
are some of your personal goals for this year?
I think right now just play really hard every time I am on the floor, and then just be a great teammate on and off the court, whether I'm in the game or out of the game all the time.
How do you do that?
I think just be supportive, support the others, talk, communicate, and then just give great effort.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Time now for our monthly conversation with the Superintendent of Decorah Schools, Tim Cronin. And Tim, it's October, and that means head counting month for school districts throughout the state of Iowa. Your enrollment gets counted, and based on that enrollment is what you get your state aid on eventually. First of all, when most people think of enrollment, they just think of a simple head count. And when it comes to school enrollment, there's a lot more to that. Explain the differences in how enrollment is counted and how state aid is based on said enrollment.
Sure. And so the first thing is certified enrollment is due on October 15th. So nothing is finalized yet. We've got our data in, and then we're just working through some of the errors on that. One of the things that happens is, other school districts are putting in their data, and as they put in their data and they fix things, that might change some of our numbers with the open enroll out students, which I was trying to explain to the board the other night. One district didn't have theirs in when I ran the original numbers. It doesn't change our overall students served, which is really the number that drives the funding for your district. But so I'll back up. We report on our certified enrollment. We'll give a report, and it will be our resident students attending our district. So the students that live in the Decorah Community School District that attend Decorah Community Schools. Then the next part of our certified enrollment is resident students attending another district. So those are open enroll out. And then we add in the non-public shared CPI students. So students that are dual enrolled, that are homeschooled, but get dual enrolled. So we add those three numbers together. That gives us our certified enrollment. And our certified enrollment went down 11.48 students, which tells me that of all the students that are in the Decorah Community School District, we have 11 and a half fewer students attending public schools or coming for dual enrollment, which is generally, it's happening kind of all over Iowa, where enrollments at schools are decreasing. And that is a fact that we just are declining enrollment as a state in general. Now, so we lose 11.5 off our certified enrollment, but then we get to add in our students that are open enrolled in, and we gained in that from last year. We actually have 3.8 more students that are attending our school district than last year, open enroll in. So our actual total school age students served, and that's kind of your beds enrollment. That's going to make up what classes you are in sports. That went down 8.68. So we actually gained on the open enrollment. And so just from a funding standpoint, the state gives you money for the students that you have enrolled in your district. And then we send out bills to the districts that we have open enrollment, and then they take that money they got from the state and then they send it on to us. And so I always think I'm more worried about our beds enrollment numbers, because that's the money we actually get eventually, whether it be through the state funding or by billing other districts. But decreased by 8.68 students, and that's roughly about $7,400 a student. So our 23-24 budget will be down about $60,000.
My non-serious response to this is this why we have to take algebra in school?
Well, there's just, I tell you what, there's I thought that's a difficult process to describe, but yeah, it's stay in school and you'll use your math someday in later life.
But when it comes to that budget decrease based on those 8 fewer students that are going into the district, from what I understand, some work had been done to kind of manage that and soften the blow a little bit in the months previous to this, correct?
Last year the board worked with Superintendent Lane, and they kind of were looking at some reductions and not replacing all staff, because when districts look, as with anything, when you've got a tight budget, there's a couple different ways to do that. You can spend less or you can earn more. And it's difficult for schools to earn more. So lots of times you have to spend less. And so Superintendent Lane did some of that steps last year. We'll continue to look at that. And one of it is just kind of that attrition process. When someone leaves the district, you kind of ask yourself, can we redeploy staff we have and, make do with just fewer staff? Because traditionally, when districts cut budget, a school personnel cost is usually about 80% of the district. So that's really where you're going to make your cuts. And if you think about inflation right now, not many of our other expenses are going down. Fuel costs are probably a good one. We're not anticipating fuel costs going down anytime soon. So just kind of makes it harder to cut budget.
Is a reduction of 8 students manageable?
Well, it's manageable, and it's just something we watch. The district carries a cushion for that, and we're aware of that, and we're adjusting. I've had some experience with reducing budgets, so as we continue through the process, I've got some suggestions that I've kind of worked with President Fodness, and as we get going, we'll, roll some of those out. Obviously, when you cut budget, you'd like to cut as far away from the classroom as possible. That's not always realistic. And, one of the other things when you're cutting budget, you want to cut a cost that's a recurring cost, so that, because if you cut $100,000 for 1 year, but then you bring that cost back in the second year, then you have to, cut that again in a different way. So one of the things you try to do is recurring costs. But yeah, we're looking at stuff, and we've got a plan, and it's manageable. It's certainly not anything where, it's one of those things that as a school superintendent, as a school board, you worry about all the time, and we'll continue to work on that. We're in a good place with a couple other factors, and kind of the ESSER funds are helping schools right now, and Decorah is certainly being helped by ESSER funding. And so, yeah, it's manageable. I guess short answer is manageable, but it requires some work.
The ESSER funds, explain those.
So the ESSER funds were part of the America Recovery Act, I believe. And schools received 3 different portions of ESSER funding. I just looked at ours the other day. Boy, when I added it all up, Decorah received about, it is reimbursable. So you spend the money and then you submit it back to the state, about $1.5 million in ESSER funds. Not all of that, it's not all for personnel. A lot of that was for maybe HVAC and some stuff that you would do to improve air quality. You think about the materials you had, but some of it can go to personnel costs. So we're, carefully using the ESSER funds. That has a limit that has to be encumbered by and spent by June of 24. So we, basically got the school year we're in and then one more to utilize those funds.
And final question about the budget, certifying the accounting base of our listening audience at the very least right now. When it comes to state supplemental aid and the aid you get from the state, when you have fewer students in your district, that means you're going to get fewer money. Explain the relation, or less money, I should say. Sorry for my English teachers back in the day. Explain the relationship between state supplemental aid and districts that have student populations that are decreasing.
Yeah. Yes. So the state has a budget guarantee where they will, when we get our budget in the spring, they'll give us, they'll take the number from today and they'll say, this is the money we should give you. And because we're declining in enrollment, depending on what the legislature sets as the state supplemental aid, usually if you're declining enrollment, that number may go down. And so I can use Central City as an example. Central City's budget might be $5 million that they get from the state. Well, if the enrollment's going down, they're going to give you less than that. So they give you a line where they say, this is what your budget should have been, but they don't drop you down right away. They stair step you down. So they say, we'll give you 101% of that number. And so when you're in declining enrollment, you get 101%, but you don't get 101% forever because they've given you the number they should have gave you. And so next year, if you've got declining enrollment, they go back and they say, you remember that number we should have given you? That's what we're going to give you 101%. So they kind of, like when I first was a superintendent, I'm knowing math, I was like, well, if they always give me 101% of my budget, I should be fine. I should go up every year. And they said, no. You get in the finer points of the aid and levy, the school budget sheet, and they've got all sorts of lines. But they do tell you what you should have gotten, and then they say, we're going to give you this number because it's the larger. This is 101% of last year's number, but they'll stair step us down. So, and we've been declining enrollment for a couple of years, so we're kind of doing that stair step down. Obviously, this one of the things the state could do would be if they set state supplemental aid at a higher percentage. Then, as you're stair stepping down, then your number goes back up because you get more per students. And like I said, we get $7,421 per student this year. If that number went up, usually the last recent history has that number going up between 1% and 2%. If in the olden days, that number might have gone up 3 or 4%. And so one of the things that could happen if a district's declining enrollment, if the SSA was high enough, then you wouldn't even stair step down.
Moving on to other matters, the North Winneshiek School building, you discussed that a little bit on Monday night. Give us the latest on where the sale of that building and what's in that building is at.
Yeah, so the district has the board has an agreement with Burke auctioneers to sell the contents, the personal property inside the building, and the building and the land. That sale, I believe the items are available through online, and so you can go to an online auction and bid, kind of like an eBay situation. And you can and that will end sometime on October 28th, I think about noon, but I don't have that date memorized. Then on the following Saturday, October 29th, is the actual auction, and they'll auction off the land. And on the 29th, they'll also bring those personal items that people have bid on, and there'll be one last chance to bid on those. And as I understand it, it's an eBay kind of situation where you can put in your max bid. Like my max bid might be $100 on a desk, but my bid that shows up is $56 because that's, $55 was the last highest bid, and people have a chance to bid on stuff then. So it all becomes the final bidding is on the 29th. Then the board will have a public hearing on November 2nd at 5 p.m. And the purpose of the November 2nd at 5 p.m. public hearing is that's when the board has or folks have a chance to comment about the sale of the building, because it will be, we'll say this, Darren bid, $2 million on the Northwind property. And so then that becomes a public hearing item. It's not officially sold on the 29th. The board has to have the public hearing, and that's public hearing, public comment. And then the board, after the public hearing, then they can have an action item. And November 2nd, we'll have a public hearing on the land and the building and any items that are sold over $5,000. And we think there might be one or two items that people might bid over $5,000. We can't be for certain at this time, though. So that's what we have the public hearing for, and that's scheduled for November 2nd right now.
And again, I think you've answered this question, but my memory is getting faulty. The proceeds from the sale of the building and the items inside of it, what budget do they go to?
That's a great question, and we're still working with our auditors on that. Possibly, I think, obviously, as a superintendent and knowing that I've got general fund shortfalls, I'd like it to go into the general fund. There's also could be made a case that you would put it in your PEPL account, which would be the restricted physical plant and equipment levy. So it'll probably go into one of those two funds. And obviously, I don't know how much we've talked or you've talked, but anything in PEPL is pretty restrictive to physical plant and buses and things like that. General fund can go to anything, which could include the physical plant stuff, but it also can include, salaries and benefits and things like that.
So, and I imagine it's one of those situations where I'm guessing not a lot of school districts sell a lot of property on a regular basis. So what you can legally do from the state level probably has to be discussed by a few people, to be fair, right?
Sure. You're exactly right. School districts aren't usually in this situation. And so it's not really something, a lot of situations I'll be at meetings and will get discussed. And I've either lived through them myself as a superintendent for, I guess, 9 years going on 10, but this is not one I've been a part of. So yeah. And big thing on that, we work with our auditors and just make sure that they're okay with it so that we don't put it in the wrong account.
One thing that caught my eye on the board agenda this week, a review and approval of a request for proposal for an outdoor recreation area. What's going on there? Yeah,
that's the space outside of Carey. It's quite a title. It's the playground outside of Carey Lee and the middle school. Yeah. And it's just kind of the grass area between like the basketball courts and where the middle school is. In a normal rainy fall and spring, it turns into kind of a mud pile, which then students can't use it. So the board's charge was, we think we'd like to put AstroTurf there or some kind of surface that could be water resistant. And we got some bids, and it was going to be, I think the bids we got were about $250,000. So anytime you make a capital improvement to a facility in Iowa that exceeds $139,000, and I don't know what's magical about $139,000, then you have to either hire an architect or engineer. And so what we're doing is we're in the process of reviewing. We went out and asked for architects to bid on this project, and we got two, not a lot wanted to do it. This isn't your typical school, construction project. This isn't building a football field. This isn't building a new elementary school. This is building an outdoor play area. And we had two folks that did respond. And so there were just a couple questions on their bid. So we're still reviewing that. But I don't know if that's as exciting as the title. But I imagine if you're a middle school or elementary or a student that uses that, that's probably a pretty important space in your life.
Or perhaps a mom that has dirty jeans from a kid that usually has to clean them up.
Yeah. Whoever's cleaning out, hopefully the mud stains will be gone. And I can say one of the things we did was we applied for ESSER funds even though we get ESSER funds, if you're spending ESSER funds on a capital improvement, there's a federal law that says those need pre-approval. And so we did ask that this be, we have the ability to use our ESSER funds, and we have approval from the state to use ESSER funds for this. So with regards to, fresh air, getting kids outside, giving them a safe place to play, that met the state's requirements. So the nice thing about this is when it comes time to pay for it, we'll get reimbursed for it. So
give us the latest on the chats with Bolton and Mink regarding the North Alley and that area and the John Klein area and everything like that.
Yeah.
Where from the district's perspective?
Yeah, from the district's perspective, we're just kind of waiting to catch up with the latest stuff. I know the process has been a little slower than we had hoped. Bolton and Minks were at the farmers market last Wednesday night doing their last listening session. They did, I believe, at least one extra listening session with some business owners in downtown Decorah. And Bolton and Minks, so they've met with the school district, they've met with business owners, they've had some listening sessions, and they're still working on, what they, possibilities, their visions. And so then that goes back to the city. And at some point in time, I read we'll have a meeting of the minds that will kind of discuss what possibilities we like and what works best for city and district and whatnot. So we're just kind of in a holding pattern. I can tell you, I went on a bike ride last Wednesday night, and I stopped down and looked at the drawings that Bolton and Minks, and it was pretty cool to see where a new John Klein could sit and how that space might be configured. But they just kind of had, I saw two, but they said there were four different concepts of what that downtown area would look like, or that North Alley John Klein area could look like. So I guess we're kind of in a holding pattern. And I assume at some point in time, I haven't seen an electronic version. The only copy I've seen was just on a poster board down at the farmers market.
All right, that covers what was on my checklist. What am I missing? What else you want to pass on to the masses as long as you got the form?
Boy, the meeting that covers a lot of the stuff. I think we're set. So yeah, I think I'm good today.
All right, we won't talk baseball at all, but that's fine with me.
Yeah.
My team doesn't have a lot to talk about right now, but nonetheless, Tim, we appreciate you taking some time and telling us about a lot of things going on per usual in the Decorah Community School District. Thanks for the time as always, and look forward to our conversation next month.
Sounds good.
Tim Cronin, Superintendent of Decorah's School District. Hey, thank you to our guest on the program this morning, Blake Moen from the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. The Touch a Truck event coming up this Saturday behind Decorah City Hall and the Decorah Fire Department from 10 a.m. till noon. Free hot dogs, too. Free meal and an event like that. That sounds like fun to me. Also, this morning, I want to thank Steph Fromm coming up next Tuesday night. It will be the groundbreaking ceremony for the Sunflower Child Development and Discovery Center in Decorah. That'll be a 5:30 event, and all community members are invited to that event. Always fun to have area kids at the Division I level competing, and we've got one at Iowa State. Caledonia's Eli King, through the unfortunate of their scheduled point guard this year getting injured. Eli probably going to be counted on a little bit more for Coach TJ Otzelberger's squad this year, so it was fun catching up with him yesterday in Ames. And I want to thank Tim Cronin for his conversation each and every month from the Decorah School Superintendent perspective. Don't forget, we put these shows on YouTube, so you can watch these shows when you can. We realize you can't always be near a radio or near a streaming device at 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning, but we feel this is an important information, interesting and entertaining people to talk to, and we want to bring that content to you when you want it to. So just go to YouTube, 10/13 Our Town program. It's the best way to get that if you're just out on YouTube watching funny cat videos or anything else you do on YouTube. Well, and we also put these links up at our website, our Facebook pages of all of our LA communication stations. So our thanks to our sponsor, Decorah Bank and Trust, our thanks to our guests, and our thanks to you, most importantly, for tuning in, for logging on, or for watching Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River.